So, this is going to be the first time talking about something of fiction. I guess, no, it's not the first time. The first time was when I was talking about The Why Cafe, which is one of the fucking most amazing books. You have to check it out. You can read it for free. I've been talking about it for a million fucking times. Still grateful for the recommendation that I've gotten. Can't fucking appreciate it more. It's an amazing book. But today, as you can also see on the left side of the screen, if you're on the YouTube video, we're gonna talk about East of Aden, which was apparently published by Penguin Classics, because there's a fucking big logo on there. Which just, I'm not mad at that. It's fine. It was rated 9 out of 10, and the link is down in the description to the summary that we're gonna go through. The little bit of critique there is absolutely beautiful and must read. No crazy plot, but there does need to be one. Summary notes. Once a woman told me that colored flowers would seem more bright if you added a few white flowers to give the colors definition or contrast. A lot of things in life are about contrast. Are about contrast. For example, but also just in design. You just need a lot of fucking contrast, whether it is black and white, bright and just dark colors per se. You need contrast. It's one of the most important things, I think, my point of view, when it comes to designing something. Besides depth, contrast and depth, I think are the two most important things. I would just say, yes. Kind of. And it never failed that during the dry years, the people forgot about the rich years, and during the wet years, they lost all memory of the dry years. It was always that way. Yes, it's always the case. When something is bad, as it is at this point in time with fucking Corona, then everyone is like, oh, everything is so bad, but we forget about the good days, and we forget about the good years. But when we're having the good years, we forget about the bad years, which is not good, because then when something bad happens, we all are so fucked. Which for me does not mean living in fear and living in whatever place where you just, where you just fear that something is going to happen, where you're just not in the optimal and positive state, maybe. Because life is great. It really is. The gods are fallen and all safety gone. And there is one sure thing about the fall of gods. They do not fall a little, they crash and shatter or sink deeply into green muck. It is a tedious job to build them up again. They never quite shine. And the child's world is never quite whole again. It is an aging kind of growing. And the child's world is never quite whole again. But I indeed have to say, it just gives me a notion of if something happens in a child's life, early life, then it is going to be part of this child's life for just the rest of its life, which can be true. Like if it is a traumatic experience or something, then it is definitely going to stay there for quite some time, and just unless you work on it, which is highly recommendable, I guess, my point of view. He breathed excitedly, high against his throat. For Alice had been naked, she had been smiling. He wondered how she had dared such wantonness, and he edged toward her with a longing that was passionate and hot. He didn't know what it was about, but all the long lack of holding, of rocking, of caressing, the hunger for breast and nipple, and the softness of a lap, and the voice tone of love and compassion, and the sweet feeling of anxiety. All of these were in his passion, and he did not know it because he did not know that just such things existed, so how could he miss them? Something. And I think this book is more or less actually going through every single paragraph there and just talking about it, I guess. The thing is, if you don't know that there is something, then it is not there, even though it is there, if this makes sense. Like, if you don't see it is not there for you, because, we all have our own perception of what reality is like and what reality is and what things are, but this doesn't necessarily mean that this is what reality is. Some people are very optimistic, some people are very pessimistic, some people just see some bullshit, quite unfortunately, just due to mental illness, due to drugs, due to whatever. But if you don't see it, it is not there. And if you see it, it is there. Which I think can be just translated in a lot of other areas of life, or just generally into life, like I don't know, if you're positive, then a lot of good things are gonna be seen by you. Quite. For example, maybe. Unless this is not what he's talking about there. It pisses me off my carpet sometimes. As with many people, Charles, who could not talk, wrote with fullness. He set down his loneliness and his perplexities, and he put on paper many things he did not know about himself. Which I guess is kind of the case for a lot of people, isn't it? You know, some people are good at writing, some people are good at talking, some people are good at listening, some people are good at just whatever, drawing, which is also a form of communication, or can be a form of communication, or communicating something. Yeah. A time splashed with interest, wounded by tragedy, crevassed with joy, that is a time that seems long in the memory. And this is right when you think about it. Eventlessness has no posts, no trape duration on. From nothing to nothing is no time at all. A time splashed with interest, wounded with tragedy, crevassed or crevassed with joy, that's the time that seems long in the memory. Does it really? I mean, time splashed with interest for me is like just really short duration, like because it feels good. I know playing video games is just, I don't know, can pass 2 hours in just a snap. But working on something sometimes can just really feel like 17 hours, even though it's just 1 hour. So I don't know if I just don't get it right, but yeah. But there must have been some steel cord in her throat, for Kathy's voice could cut like a file when she wished. Which I guess is just always the case. I don't know. Like, words can really hurt, but words can also really just enlighten somebody's day, or just make somebody's day really fucking good, or whatever. Like, there's just a lot of things that words can be doing, or that voice can be doing per se as well, if you think about tonality. I mean, I can talk in this way. I can talk relatively calmly, but I could also talk like this, like being pretty excited and just feeling like whatever, and on just some drug or something. But I could also just feel sad, maybe. I could also talk sad. Pretty slow. Maybe this is what he means by saying that. I don't know. Could be. But definitely just have an eye on the words that you're using, because the words that you use can really make the difference between saying something in a way that hurts somebody and saying something in a way that maybe even just makes somebody smile or something. Like, really something to think about. Yeah. Kathy had none of this. She never confronted in dress or conduct. She wore whatever she wanted to. The result was that quite often other children imitated her. Because of her confidence, maybe. When two men live together, they usually maintain a kind of shabby neatness out of incipient rage at each other. Two men alone are constantly on the verge of fighting, and they know it. Adam Trask had not been home long before the tension began to build up. The brothers saw too much of each other and not enough of anyone else. Which I guess is not only the case for men, isn't it? You know, if you're always constantly doing something with this one person, then yeah, what else is gonna happen? I don't know, besides you just, I don't know, feeling strange and things. I guess this is just relationship advice, isn't it? I mean, if you're constantly doing something with this one person, then yeah, of course, there is going to be some fights. I don't know. Reminds me on relationships. Our species is the only creative species, and it has only one creative instrument, the individual mind and spirit of a man or a woman. Nothing was ever created by two men. There are no good collaborations, whether in music, in art, in poetry, in mathematics, in philosophy. Once the miracle of creation has taken place, the group can build and extend it, but the group never invents anything. The preciousness lies in the lonely mind of a man. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I guess the idea indeed starts in one person's mind. When it is influenced by something else that somebody else said, it's never going to be a collective thing. It's never going to be a collective thought that invents something. You know, it's going to be one person saying something and then the other person being like, well, yeah, this is also what I've been thinking about, but I've also added this and that. And then the other person says, oh yes, of course. And then this person again adds something, and you know the shtick or the spiel. And this, I believe, that the free exploring in mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in the world. And this would fight for the freedom of the mind to take any direction it wishes undirected. And this I must fight against. Any idea, religion or government which limits or destroys the individual. Well, sometimes we do destroy the individual by ourselves. He took no rest, no recreation, he became rich without pleasure and respected without friends. Which is not good. That is why I'm talking to you. You're one of the rare people who can separate your observation from your preconception. You see what it is, and where most people see what they expect. In uncertainty, I'm certain that underneath their topmost layers of frailty, men want to be good and want to be loved. Indeed, most of the vices are attempted to shortcuts to love. When a man comes to die, no matter what his talents and influence and genius, he dies unloved. His life must be failure to him, and his dying a cold horror. It seems to me that if you or I must choose between two courses of thought or action, we should remember our dying and try so to live that our death brings no pleasure to the world. I like the last one. I really do. Try so to live that your death brings no pleasure to the world, which for me just means if you're an asshole, people are going to be happy that you died. If you're not, it's not going to be pleasure to the world. It's not going to be pleasure to anybody. Think about that. Like, this is amazing. This really is amazing. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. They say a clean cut heals soonest, and there's nothing sadder to be than associations held together by nothing but the glue of postage stamps. If you can't see or hear or touch a man, it's best to let him go. I don't know. I don't know what this is trying to say me, kind of. But I'm often... I'm not that good of an interpreting guy. I really am not. This is something that I'm just so not good at. But if you can't see or hear or touch a man, it's best to let him go. I always take things literal, and I've also taken this one like, I don't know. It is one of the triumphs of the human that he can know a thing and still not believe it. Yes, this is something that we often do, isn't it the case? She felt rather gay, as though she were going to a party. Gingerly, she finished the chain out from her bodice, unscrewed the little tube and shook the capsule into her hand. She smiled at it. What? She felt rather gay, as though she were going to a party. Gingerly, she fished the chain out from her bodice, or whatever this is, unscrewed the little tub and shook the capsule into her hand. She smiled at it. I mean, it is about drugs, probably. I don't know. And then her eyes closed again and her fingers curled as though they held small breasts, and her heart beat solemnly and her breathing slowed as she grew smaller and smaller and then disappeared, and she had never been. Time Shell, which is the last one. I don't know. I don't know what this is trying to tell me. I don't know what it's trying to say to me. But I wonder what John Steinbeck is up to. Or Steinbeck, probably. It's not Steinbeck, but Steinbeck. Let's see, and now my voice is a little bit fucked. He died in 1968, aged 66 only, unfortunately. Novelist, short story writer, and war correspondent. Of Mice and Men, The Grapes of Wrath, and East of Eden are his top 3 works. And his signature is pretty cool. Was an American author. He won the 1962 Nobel Prize in Literature for the realistic and imaginative writing, combining as they do sympathetic humor and keen social perception. He has been called a giant of American letters, and many of his works are considered classics of Western literature. During his writing career, he authored 33 books, including 16 novels, 6 non-fiction books, and 2 collections of short stories. He is widely known for the comic novels Tortilla Flat and Kenny Rowe, the multi-generation epic East of Eden, and the novellas The Red Pony and Of Mice and Men. The Pulitzer Prize-winning The Grapes of Wrath is considered Steinbeck's masterpiece and part of the American literary canon. In the first 75 years after it was published, it sold 14 million copies. Most of Steinbeck's work is set in Central California, particularly in the Salinas Valley and the California Coast Ranges region. His works frequently explored the themes of fate and injustice, especially as applied to downtrodden or everyman protagonists. By the way, I've always quite thought, like, I do not want to go through anything of fiction because I just want to get the hard truth. I just want to have, like, just the information and whatnot. But no. Because, I mean, I could also write something. I could also write something and just really put those ideas that I'm having in my mind into the story. And it would even be, I think, a pretty good idea to do so. So maybe the next book that I'm gonna write is actually gonna be about fiction, even though this is a pretty huge task, to be honest, you know, coming up with an idea and stuff. And I'm also not just the biggest fan of books per se, because, yeah, I mean, there's other forms of doing things, but I mean, I could also film things, I could just animate things. It's just a really ton of fucking work, but it's actually pretty fun, you know? Could actually pretty fun, or be pretty fun. I don't know, but I think I'm gonna end the episode there. So, yeah, I wish you the best health and happiness and also success, and also hope that you're gonna remind yourself and you're gonna be remembered. This basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person. Yeah, which is always a good thing. Yeah. 3 other questions that I have you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully gonna show you your purpose, and maybe even a business idea, which is a cool thing and a good thing and a nice thing. Another question that I have you are, or is, I always fuck it up. What could you do? What could you make? What could you change to really make somebody's day? What is it? What could you do? And yeah, with that being said, I really hope that you're fine. I really hope that you're healthy and that you're staying healthy and all. And I'm gonna see you the next time. So bye bye, have a good time, and I'll see you. Please stay healthy. Please, really. And yeah. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Bye 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 bye. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. I just truly appreciate that so much.